I'm Vanessa Piazza. I'm the producer on Lost Girl.
And I'm Jay Firestone. I'm the executive producer.
I am Ksenia Solo, and I play Kenzie on Lost Girl.
Hey there, I'm Chris Holden-ried. I play Dyson on Lost Girl.
My name is Zoe Palmer, and I play Dr. Lauren Lewis on Lost Girl.
My name is Emily Andrus. I am the showrunner of Lost Girl, which is a fancy way of saying I am the head writer and executive producer.
My name's Paul Amos.
My name is Rick Howland. I play the role of Trick, the bartender, 2,000-year-old bartender of the Dal, and the grandfather to Bo.
Raynor will ask you to slay the Unamens. I know that they've wronged us, that they're evil, but I'm begging you.
I think one thing, I mean, I can maybe just speak to where I think our fans, from our fans' point of view, is I think that there's a character in Lost Girl. Somebody can relate to any character in Lost Girl. There's something very real about all the characters, even though it's set in a fantasy world. You know, we try and we never have labels on the show, which is, I think, really nice. It's very inclusive. We really try and promote everybody can be who they want to be, rather than, you know, what they should be. I think that's one of the big sort of themes, you know, so I think everybody out there can relate to somebody.
And each episode, you know, the characters are very relatable, but in each episode, we tend to do stories that people are dealing with every day. I wrote an episode a few years ago about a father-son relationship where the father wants more for his son than he had. We've done some important things about mother-daughter relationships, families, best friends. So we try to do things that people who have these issues in everyday life experience, but we do it in a fantasy world. So that gives us a little creative license to have fun with it.
Yes, yes, all very valid points.
I'm from Wales, not from England. That would be kind of like going up to a Spanish person and calling them Portuguese. The only difference is I probably wouldn't slit your throat. So that's who I am. I play Vex, who might slit your throat as well. He's a mesmer, and he is a person who can control people's actions. And he's a dark fae. He's fun, he's crazy, he's witty, and I love playing him.
You know, playing a wolf's been it's been a lot of fun. I mean, you get to do sort of animal-y stuff. You know, he's also 1,000 years old, so, you know, it's interesting character sort of research. And it's a lot of energy work, you know, you're playing supernatural creatures, so, you know, you can't just be, you know, oh, I'm really tired this morning. This never flies. Dyson's never tired, so it's always, like, great energy up, and it's been a good discipline maintaining that. Well, he's not really a werewolf. He's more of, I've always thought of more of a shamanistic kind of shifter type. You know, he's not affected by the full moon or anything, doesn't lose control of himself, doesn't go out and, you know, eat children like all the other werewolves do. So, yeah, he's kind of an old world, like, I don't know if it's a sort of mystical-y kind of thing, but I've always kind of associated with some of the mythologies that I read about, you know, the wolf sort of spirit where it lives in between this other sort of dream realm and our realm, and Dyson's sort of caught in between.
I swear, the true identity of your father remains shrouded from me.
Much like your own guild.
Enough. We don't have time for petty bickering.
With any leader, you know, you're faced with really tough decisions. And sometimes those decisions, you have to sacrifice certain things, either your own people in your own life or things in your own life to get to that place, or for the cause of the larger community. And I think Trick tried really hard. I mean, I don't think there was a book. I mean, there is a kind of a book now, like there's like, you know, his blood laws that he created. There wasn't a book before that. There wasn't you know, a ruler's handbook or a, you know, kingship for dummies. He was just working his thing and trying to make it work for everybody. And so he had to do certain things that he wasn't really proud of. And he made some mistakes. And so in this season, we're seeing those mistakes come back and get him. And as we've known from the whole run of the show, that anytime Trick writes in his blood, there's always a repercussion. And so that means every time he's written in his blood for over 2,000 years, those repercussions are still coming back at him. And this year, we get to see the big ones come back.
where we leave off with Lauren by the end of season 3 is that, well, certainly before Dr. Taft comes along, is that she's kind of taken about all she can take, you know? She's been challenged in every way a person can be with the death of her girlfriend and having to share a beau and being treated like kind of a thing by the light fae for such a long time that she finally sort of, you know, has had enough, and not even in an aggressive way, but just can't take it anymore, you know. So she sort of finally decides to go off on her own, and I think that as she evolves into season 4, we're starting to find her trying to figure out if she can belong to that community anymore, and if she doesn't, if she can't, where does she belong? You know, she's so, like, it's so impossible for her to go back to being a human doctor now. You know, she's been with the Fae, I imagine, for years on end. So the idea of going back into the human world is pretty much impossible. So I think that she's trying to figure out now where she fits in, where she belongs, and if she does.
From 3rd to 4th, I mean, 3rd was really an ambitious season, which we were really, really proud about. It's kind of the sweet spot in 3rd because everybody knows their characters and the fans have really bought into the concept. So we pushed the agenda a little bit. We sort of wanted to explore the Fae world and some of the darkness and push Beau into a relationship, which was amazing, with Lauren, a long time coming. Going to 4th season, we wanted to be equally as ambitious and really explore the Fae world and also just the idea of destiny. You know, what does it mean to be special? What does it mean to be chosen? Particularly if you're someone like Beau who hates making choices. So that's what we're aiming for.
Kenzie in season 3 was a little more lost, and I think she was coming up to this point, this turning point in her life where she realized that she didn't fit into this world that she thought she did. And that really hurt her because she thought that she was, you know, one with all her friends, and through everything they went through and all the times that she would, you know, be at the battle line and be alongside everybody and fight and do everything she could to protect her friends, at the end of the day, she's not Fae and she doesn't have a Fae power. So that really started to take a toll. So in season 4, we see her really go through her own challenges and try to solidify her place in this crazy world. And she has her own powers, which I think are her bravery and her loyalty and her charm and you know, her thieving skills and all these kind of cool things that make up who Kenzie is. I think that's her power. So season 4 is about finding the balance between being yourself and feeling okay with that and feeling strong enough to stand alongside these very powerful creatures and be respected by them and also respect yourself. So I think it's a really great personal journey that Kenzie gets to go on in season 4.
Please, don't stop yourselves on my account. Diggle yourselves while Rome burns. Make merry while ye may, for the Unamens are on their way.
It was a pilot that was bandied around, that was had loads of like good attention. Like Agent was very interested. Everyone knew about the show, and it was Jay's sort of comeback project. Jay was a prolific sort of producer in Toronto. He did like Relic Hunter and Nikita and all that sort of stuff. So I was really excited to go in for it. I'd only just actually started in TV and film in Toronto. And in the original pilot, Vex actually died. So, I mean, it was one of the first really kind of big auditions that I'd had. And they were like, it's an amazing role, but he dies. And I was like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, you know, it's a pilot, it's going to be good, he's a great role, and who knows? And lo and behold, I went into the audition with everybody, Jay and John and Wendy and Lisa and everybody, and I had one audition. And then I had to wait, I think, about 3 weeks. I went off to Morocco, and I remember being in Marrakesh, and my phone rang, and I was like, I better take this, it's my agent. And I took it, and she was like, yeah, finally the network approved you. So that's how I got the role. And then it was just really exciting to be on set because it was a strip club. It was an abandoned strip club, was my first scene as Vex, which is kind of fitting. And it was amazing. It was such a, I don't know, sometimes in life, you know, you're part of projects or you meet people and there's a certain frisson or something in the air that is just right. and you just think, okay, I love these people. I love the people playing the characters. And I love the pilot itself, the director, everything, how it looked, the strip club, how filthy and dirty it was. And for Vex, you know, as a character, it was amazing.
We just finished a pretty cool episode that we shot somewhere that may or may not have been haunted.
It's this amazing old estate out by the Toronto Zoo. And it was willed to the zoo back in the 1960s or 70s. But it was a millionaire guy who built it during the 1920s. And it's this really beautiful old stone kind of mini castle that's out in the woods, like deep into the woods.
A lot of the crew were, were going there, and we were shooting nights, and it was actually funny to see how many people really were taking this into account.
It is supposedly haunted, so yes, of course, on one night at around 1 in the morning, in between setups, I went for a bit of a wander. It's 3 stories high, and I didn't really feel wigged out at all until I got to the very 3rd floor, and there was this dark little service hallway that was only about 5 feet tall, and at the end of it was a bedroom door that was slightly ajar, and I could see there was some stuff in there. And for some reason, I could not walk down that hallway. I was just like, the hackles rose. I just got that feeling like I would be intruding into something else's space. It was really weird, and I was not the only person to feel this, because a lot of people on the crew were like, yeah, whatever, it's haunted, I'll go check it out. And even I'm talking like big 220-pound burly crew, right? They're like, yeah, man, whatever, I'll go check it out. Yeah, I couldn't get down that hallway. It's just weird, man. I even brought, and then this one of our crew members actually brought a flashlight with them, and as they started moving down the hallway, the flashlight went off. And she's like, that's really weird. So she shuts it off, and she starts using her camera battery, and it starts doing these weird flashes, like, and she got so freaked out, she was like, she wouldn't do it either. So yeah, potentially there is. I did not have the balls to go down that hallway and find out. I didn't want to have a Ghostbusters incident come out all gooey.
There was actually a very funny moment where one of our crew members, Jean, this had kind of been going around. Everyone was saying, there's this place is haunted. There's stories of this. So she took a sheet and she, cut eye holes and actually made herself look like a ghost. And so she goes running down to scare another crew member. Meanwhile, one of our other crew members was behind her, and he came up, and so she's just going in to scare, and he pushes her, and she's, in her ghost costume. Ah! So, I think we have a lot of fun out there. So that was a really cute moment. That was a fun episode.
Is this because of what happened between you and Stella?
What? No, nothing happened.
Nothing like it's just a break, or nothing like you knocked her up?
Don't touch. Something's out of step. Someone's been messing with the balance of space and time.
My money's on the new council. They seem really easily butthurt.
It was challenging. For the first couple of episodes, it was, we were all kind of going, what is this show? And I mean, because Bo isn't there, and we don't remember her in that first, episode or two. And it was a different show. It was very different. And Ksenia steps up awesomely. She kind of takes the lead of the situation, and she's the one who's like, what's going on here? What's different? And we're all starting to feel, Trick always has that kind of, wait a minute, something's different. But, it was bizarre. It was bizarre to not be the regular kind of form of the show. And then after episode 4, it kind of starts to feel normal again.
I remember getting to set the first day, and I, had all these scenes with Chris, and Chris and I are looking at each other, and we're like, is this Lost Girl? Because this is really weird. So it was definitely a different dynamic. We had to get used to it, and of course we missed Bo, and we missed having Anna around for the first couple of episodes, but we had to make it work, and we had to step up to the plate and kind of find that new energy and find our groove in that new energy, because we're so used to a specific set of rules, a specific set of relationships, and everything went out the window. So it was kind of like starting all over again.
Why would you be lonely with me here?
That is a very good question.
When we first read it, we were concerned because even though episode 1, we're under the Wanderer's spell and we can't remember Bo, we didn't want to do something that would betray, what we've invested into Bo, Dyson, and into our relationship. Kenzie and Dyson have a great chemistry. And, this was kind of one of those things where the producers had been listening to the fans going, I don't even know what the ship is called for Kenzie and Dyson. Denzi? Kenzon? I don't know. So we were trying to be a little bit careful. We did actually many takes of the kiss at very different levels. And like some of it was very sort of tentative. And then, people were like, okay, well, let's build it up. And so we just kept on ramping up the sexual part of it. And at the end, we were feeling very sexual about it, or like we took it to a level that Ksenia and I actually afterwards were like, I don't think that that's going to work. That's too sexual. It shouldn't be sexual. It should be more confusion, or they don't know why they're feeling this and they don't know why it feels wrong. They should just be more confused. But I think when Jay got into the editing room, he was like, damn, this is hot. And he was like, and he said exactly that. He was like, ooh, the fans are going to go nut bar. They're just going to be like, what? And I think he chose that take. So Ksenia and I have yet to see it, and I have a feeling we're going to be like, no, you didn't. You used that one. And I must admit, I've never had the opportunity to kiss Ksenia, so I took full advantage. And, I think that's what Jay got in the end, was me basically being like, ha, 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 I get to kiss Ksenia.
Crystal, I can't.
Break's over. Break's over.
See? Unstable.
It was fun to be, it was such a different look. Like, I would catch myself in the mirror every day, and like, I would always think that there was somebody else there, because it doesn't look anything like me. Just that wig changed it a lot. But I don't know if I prefer myself as a redhead. I think I might be better. I've been brunette before. I actually am brunette. But in real life. But I don't know. I think I prefer being a blonde. I'm pretty sure. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun to be a redhead for a while and to be kind of in disguise and on the run, totally. Lauren's been so connected to the Light Fae for so long, and even kind of on a mission to get Bo to join the Light Fae at the very beginning, under the direction of the first Ash. So the idea that she has any connection or loyalty to the other side is a weird position for her to be in. But I think it's about what I sort of touched on earlier, which is just her she's flailing a little bit, I think, right now, and she's trying to figure out where she fits in, and so she's sort of trying out something else. And I think that the idea of a potential freedom, even if it's with the Dark Fae and with the Morrigan, is something that's appealing to her right now, having felt so trapped for so long. The Light Fae have such a different feeling about human beings that although they feed off them, there's still a respect there. And I think the Dark Fae don't have that same respect. It's kind of, they're just there to service the Fae, the human being world. So the challenge is, what does that mean for her? Because of course Lauren is human. So I think to work with them, knowing that they don't have the same regard for human life that the Light Fae have, would be a weird place to be, I would imagine.
We talk quite a lot before the seasons in terms of where we want to take the characters, or where we think they've come from, possible backstories and whatnot. And the writers and producers will come to the table with what they have, and you come to the table with what you have. And I think we talk quite early on, around about season 2, of like really where we could take Vex. So those ideas were being built upon. They weren't there to begin with. We just had this amazing character. Like anything, when you're writing like a novelist, they're going to have like an amazing character, and then they're going to have to take them on a journey as they write, which is essentially what we're doing. So when we got to that point, he was like, okay, now where can we go? What can we do? I was like, there's got to be a reason. He can't just be that, He can't just be ridiculous and an idiot. There's got to be a reason why. So building that reason was really exciting. All of a sudden you're able to break down, as he gets broken down by the situation, which is the world, which is he's gone out of his comfort zone and actually helped help Bo and the rest of them. But really, I think he's helping Bo and Kenzie. It's the survivor thing that there's something that clicks in and it gets him, and that's the reason why he helps out with the Garuda. And doing that, is, you know, is to his detriment, really, that all of a sudden he's in a different world altogether for him that he has to live with. And you always want to put characters out of their comfort zone and in a situation where they're challenged, which was really exciting for that character, because all of a sudden he doesn't have any. For the guy who's always in control, he's out of control. He doesn't. He's got nobody to go to. He has no power. He has no money. He doesn't have his club. Nobody cares about him. Like, so he's had the complete reversal, which was really exciting. And then we can find out, okay, why was he being so silly and ridiculous? So, you know, it's just been so much fun and easy to do, and it wasn't a surprise because we were building it.
So the hardest thing about a show like Lost Girl, I think, is when you're dealing with fantasy, at first you might come into it and think, well, this is crazy. I don't have any rules, you know? Anything can happen. A mermaid can fly in on a Pegasus, save the day. But the truth is, you still have to have a world that has right and wrong and sort of constraints, you know? When people die, is death final? You have to sort of know the rules, but you have to start from scratch. And the other thing that's really difficult when writing it is, even though it's an exaggerated world with mermaids and leprechauns, it has to be about real people. It has to be about a girl who's incredibly sexual, you know, incredibly seductive, who nevertheless cannot really have an intimate relationship or hasn't been able to thus far. That's the challenge of writing. It's still got to be about relationships and chemistry and friendship in a world that is really, really fantastical. And as far as research, yeah, we do quite a bit. I mean, but that's part of the fun stuff, you know? There is so much mythology that, you know, repeats itself from culture to culture around the world. Like, every culture sort of has its take on vampires, or, you know, the Selkie, or fairies, you know, or brownies. So there's no lack of, you know, research or grounds to go back to come up with amazing stuff. But the trick is really to apply that thematically to what the characters we know and love is going through, you know? So as far as research, we do a lot, but sometimes you just find a creature that is so amazing, you think, oh my gosh, the whole story tells itself. I love this.
Yeah, working in the fantastical world definitely has its challenges. You know, you have to use your imagination. You have to be able to look up at nothing and pretend that there's two great spiritual beings fighting to the death, or you know, that some big Wendigo is about to come and attack you or something like that. And yeah, you know, in the beginning you feel like a real arse. You're just like, does this look all right? But you know, you start to trust, and you know, you start seeing the results. You know, you watch the dailies, and you know, and then you see it with the CGI, and it's like, oh, it does work. So you start believing in that process. And when you trust that your make-believe actually, you know, feels right and feels like reality on the camera side, then yeah, it gets easier and easier, and you start just believing in the process. Was there any techniques that I had to learn? I guess, you know, just that, you know, being able to believe that if I'm looking at an X and still feeling something, as long as I'm feeling something real, that's what the camera wants, you know, and you don't have to actually have a 8-foot whatever in front of you. You can just pretend.
It's really funny when it's just you and you're like in this warehouse or studio and there's a giant green screen in front of you, and you know, they call action and you have to see monsters and lights and comets are hitting at you and there's a tornado happening and a storm, and it's like the most ridiculous thing. So you really have to rely on your sense of imagination. So luckily mine's more or less developed, and I can play around with that even when there's nothing, or mostly on Lost Girl we have tennis balls on a stick that we have to just, you know, follow.
Well, the rewarding is easy. The challenge, I don't know, you know, I mean, I think that oftentimes we're looking at creatures that aren't there. There's, you know, of course there's a lot of CGI and all of that stuff. So there's like flying things in the sky that we're all terrified of, and they're not there. And we're looking at like a tennis ball on the end of a stick that's being like flung around by our first AD, and it's like, that's sort of working. But yeah, so that, you know, just the imagination of it all in a way, like in a drama, you're having a scene, you and I are in a scene, and we're like, it's easy to kind of imagine because you're sitting on a set that looks exactly like it should. But on a sci-fi show, there's a lot of your own imagination that you have to kind of bring to the scene. The rewards are endless. I mean, it's so much fun. We get to play in Fantasyland every day at work. You know, it's like being a kid every day at work. We get to just play. I'm like playing with doctor stuff and like that I don't have a clue what I'm talking about most of the time. But so yeah, it's a blast that way.
I merely want to look inside so I may grant your unspoken wish.
No need, I'll speak it. I want the Ricardo Montalban. Ricky Martin, the compass thingy.
George was a find. I mean, we were very lucky to get George. He was hilarious. To be honest, he was supposed to die in the episode. And he was just talking to me on the set about, oh, I love this. Can I come back? I see you kill me. And I said, okay, we won't kill you.
Working with George Takei was fantastic. He was so right for this role. I can't imagine anyone else playing a slithering snake man. And getting to set the day when we were filming all our scenes together, I remember walking in and I was like, oh my God, this must be one of the coolest sets that we've ever had on the show. And George was in this like little green froggy jumpsuit, which was adorable. Not very scary, but adorable. And he was strapped into this giant crane. So his cool snake body was gonna be added in with CGI later. So all I saw was George in a froggy green jumpsuit on this crazy crane. So I got to follow him, and when he would move his shoulders, the crane would move. So that's what gave it that snake-like effect. And the fact that he was so much taller than me made it, you know, helped me with that intimidation factor.
Oh, golly. That's more awkward than your attempt at small talk.
I agree. Excuse me.
I got it, partner.
You really don't.
Who's the brunette?
Would you just shut up and let me lead for once?
Honestly, that was the most fun. We trained really hard for that. We worked on it for about a month, and I mean, Ksenia really bore the brunt of it. You know, she had to dance with both of us, and she had much more intricate moves to do. I mean, Casey and I were just sort of the grunt heavy lifters. But in Ksenia's case, not heavy at all. And Nikita Solo did an amazing job choreographing something that told the story and still was a beautiful tango sequence.
The tango was single-handedly the hardest, most challenging thing, but the most satisfying thing that I have gotten to do in all my years of Lost Girl. First of all, we had an incredible choreographer who came in and made us do things that we physically never thought was possible. I mean, I have like a ballet background, but I've never danced a tango before. The guys don't really have any dance experience, so we came into this and, you know, we were tired because we were working on set all day long, and then we would have to make time for these really intense dance rehearsals in between. So it was over like a 3-week period where we had to make this like incredible tango dance.
It is like occupied France in here. What's with the cry tunes?
When a men's come to town, everything shut down.
Yeah, well, I was hoping for a real night out.
Well, sorry, Miss Spring Breaker. I promised Dyson I'd take you somewhere safe.
You do remember a cloud of black smoke kidnapped me here, right?
Right.
Do we know anything about this wanderer?
I don't feel like talking about it.
I think everything's been pretty like smooth sailing until now. They've had it not easy. I mean, they've gone to hell and back together and have been through, you know, life and death situations. But I think season 4, because of the separation, because they're both going through completely different things, when they come back together, there's some secrets that have to be told, and there's some growing pains, I think. But I think it's great because every relationship needs to go through that to become stronger. And this is already the strongest bond that could ever be. So it can only go uphill. Once it gets through its little bumps in the road, it can only go uphill. So they just get stronger and become even more badass if that's possible for the two of them.
Bring home a stray puppy? Okay. A wounded bird? Fine. But I never thought I'd see the day when my granddaughter would show up at my doorstep with a one-handed mesmer claiming she threw in with the dark.
Is this thing legit?
Well, you always got that element being, I think, family. You know, you've always got a little bit of that kind of, she's fighting against the thing, and she's been fighting against the thing since the day she arrived. Like, I mean, she doesn't like the idea of light and dark. Crick wrote light and dark. He created those laws, and she's been bucking that system from the very beginning. So yeah, I could see a bit of that happening. In fact, after season 4, I would love to see that happen, actually, because it would give us lots to do and have that duality again of like, I love you, but you're frustrating me, and I hate you for this, for trying to cause all this or change the system that's happening. But there's a revolution afoot. There's a revolution afoot, I think, after season 4. I mean, I don't. If there is a season 5, I already have some ideas for where to go with it.
I think that we just need to slow down a bit because we have so much time, Hale. We have all the time in the world. And I just don't want to be my mother.
It's funny, it's not like from the beginning it was like Kenzie and Hale are gonna get together. I don't think that was ever, I mean, that was never a thought in my head. I don't know if that was a thought in Casey's head. So I don't know what the writers had in mind from the very beginning, but it was interesting because it's like when you're friends with someone for a really long time and then one day all of a sudden you kind of see them in a different light, it really takes you by surprise. So I feel like that's a lot of what it is for Kenzie. And I think she really cares about him because they have this strong bond and this really strong friendship. So these feelings are really taking her off guard, and she doesn't really know what to do with them, and I think she's a little afraid of them. And Hale has been feeling this way for longer, and he hasn't been able to say anything. He hasn't been able to, you know, take that risk and show his real feelings because he doesn't want to lose Kenzie because she's such a good friend. So it's a really interesting relationship, and I kind of enjoy the fact that it's hot, cold, and they, you know, have had a hard time meeting in the middle. Some things always happen. You know, first Kenzie was with Nate when Hale discovered that he had these feelings, and then, you know, things were happening with Hale, and he had to go away, and then all this drama happened, and, you know, the Garuda, and then the Unamens, and everything they have to go through that's around them and completely, you know, dangerous and crazy. I don't know why I just thought of the Rihanna song. How does it go? We found love in a hopeless place. Yes, I'm quoting Rihanna when I'm talking about Lost Girl. They found love in a hopeless place, and I'm just gonna stick with that.
Guys, we love you. Like, honestly, thank you for sticking it out and waiting. I know that sometimes there's a long time in between seasons.
We were really lucky to hit a really great group of fans.
Keep being so passionate and enthusiastic.
Oh, yeah, definitely, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's amazing to see.
Really appreciate everything that you guys do for us, the fans, the Twitter and the Facebook fan notes and the fan mail. I'm always happy to say hello.
We're so grateful. We're so grateful that you guys tune in every week.
Keep tweeting us, because we love you.
Lost Girl is what it is because of the fans, and I say that with no cheesy Hallmark feelings. This is completely genuine.
We couldn't do it without you. That's absolutely for sure, and thank you for having our back and supporting us all these years.
So I just want to say thank you for making the show what it is.
Thanks for coming on the journey with us, and we love you, and hopefully we'll see you in season 5.